Welcome to Voices of the Community. I'm your host, George Koster.
In big cities and rural counties, hundreds of artists will create new works. From Rhinelander, Wisconsin, to Utica, Mississippi, Honolulu, to Oakland, to Providence, Rhode Island. It will be a national artistic outpouring of local reflection and joy, with so many sites piloting cross-sector partnerships amongst local artists, health care providers, and municipal leaders to bring health and well-being to the larger community. It's a model that can be replicated across sectors, across states, over and over until we get it right. We're in Phillips County, Arkansas, we're in the Bronx, we're here in California, in Oakland, across the country and around every community and neighborhood, we're doing the work because artwork is the real work. I trust artists throughout history and into the present because they have their ears to the ground and their hands on the pulse of humanity. Artists provide their hearts to help us deepen our empathy and their minds to broaden our horizons to what's necessary and possible to make a brighter and more equitable future.
I work with a lot of governmental organizations, agencies, jurisdictions, and basically we use this framework of art as data collection, right? We know artists are living in the future.
The whole world looked to creativity in the arts when the entire world shut down. Artists are living in the future. That means you can monetize everything you are and everything you do. Go ahead and finish, baby.
No, I got wrapped up in the TED Talk. I was like, not only are artists living in the future, artists are the ones that are gonna build the future, right? So if you're smart, partner with an artist, because here's the thing, I work with city governments that are building 30-year strategic plans of how the city will grow infrastructurally for the next 30 years, and you're gonna tell me you're gonna get all that data through a survey? So we partner them with local artists who go off and lead artist workshops, right? That allow us, build the container. Artists build the container for us to self-regulate our communities and provide the container to freedom dream. When I talk about economic justice in a 30-year plan, what does that mean for BIPOC youth in the city of Santa Rosa, right? And then by the end of this hour and a half, you're gonna have this beautiful data that says, I want access to green space, organic vegetables, I want my houses to look like this, I want to look like this, I want that you could never get with a survey or what I just call boo-boo kitty community engagement plans, right? So artists are the ones that are gonna build a container for our community to dream in, and we're gonna be the ones to help relay and vision with folks that are building infrastructure that could either include us or exclude us, right?
Later on, Carts for the Arts. We realized that cartridges, vape cartridges, were being thrown away. They're being marketed as disposable. You can't dispose these vape cartridges. You throw them in the trash, they explode. Yeah, they're connected, so they've got lithium ion batteries. So if you put it in e-waste, you can't put it in e-waste because it's got the cannabis oil on it, and you can't take it to the cannabis waste because it's got the lithium ion battery on it. And so you really literally can only hold on to it. And this was a big problem. So we created, I'm gonna get to all of you. We created an art exhibit that was made out of cartridges, and we created an arts panel that went with it. And that was a panel with like, manufacturers, and that was a panel with policy advisory people, and we got together and it got national news. But what was more important is after that exhibit finished, that group continued to meet. They became a working group, and eventually they were able to pass legislation that eliminated them being able to market that as disposable and force the marketers, the distributors and the producers to change their design. So, thank you. Art, we can make huge differences.
Today's episode was made possible through our co-production partnership with California for the Arts at their annual California Arts and Culture Summit. Special thanks to our technical crew, audio and video wizard Eric Estrada, and our co-production partner, Bayvac Media, and their wonderful team, and thanks to Casey Nance from Citron Studios for the graphics magic. A special thanks to our broadcast partners who help share these important conversations: KSFP, LPFM in San Francisco, KPCA, LPFM in Petaluma, Petaluma Community Public Access TV, Bayvac Media's SF Commons, and PEG Media's Public Access TV Exchange. I'm George Koster from San Francisco. On behalf of our team, thank you for joining us. Until next time, remember, your voice matters. Welcome to Voices of the Community. I'm your host, George Koster. This is George Koster with Voices of the Community and Californians for the Arts at the second annual Arts and Culture Summit here in Sacramento. And I have the pleasure of talking with Jamie Han, the Director of Strategic Impact and Narrative Change at Creatives Rebuild New York. Share a little bit more about kind of the background. Was there, every jurisdiction likes to do a study about another study so that we can study it and then report it. So how did the city come to a place where they wanted to do guaranteed income? Was there some kind of a study first done, or did people jump in on, Michael Tubbs and the whole activity of Michael Tubbs in Stockton, basically showing, hey, people spend the money to stay alive and get work and, stabilize?
So one first distinction is it's across the state of New York. So 2,400 artists, not just the city of New York, but the state of New York. And the data and the research is there. So we were launched in 2021. And so already the programs in Stockton, as you mentioned, and elsewhere, the broader guaranteed income movement and basic income movement, the explosion of programs and pilots that happened under the ARPA funding from, during the pandemic was a sort of an important baseline for us. We decided explicitly not to make ours a pilot. We weren't doing it for research purposes. We believed that people know best how to spend the money. Because we're a private sector, because we're a private philanthropy, we're not public dollars. There's some complexities that come with sort of giving money directly to individuals. Something that I mentioned on stage in the panel was that we tried very hard to center sort of care throughout the process. These are people that are living in dire circumstances. We have statistics from our application data and from our survey data that I think it's 60% of artists are making less than $25,000 a year in New York State, at or below poverty level, right? And so when you're supporting folks through an application process, when you're helping them understand whether getting this money will shift their public benefits, right? Some of these folks are on public benefits. That involves a lot of care, and that involves a lot of what we talk about as social service work, right? And arts administrators aren't often trained or, have the skills to do that. So we had a lot of really important partners in the implementation of that program.
Hi, Eduardo Robles for Californians for the Arts and Voices of the Community here at the second annual California Arts and Culture Summit. Here with Tiara Amar, just got out of the Creative Conditions panel, and we're happy to have you here to talk a little bit further. How do you see musicians as art workers, but also music? It's also, a cultural heritage and, tradition bearers, how have you encountered those kind of in advocacy work in terms of advocating for artists or culture bearers?
Yeah. So live music is humanity's oldest ritual, drumming together is one of the first things we learned how to do. And musicians are such important keepers of history of a place, keepers of community. And in the past decade in the Bay Area, we've seen such a mass exodus of musicians from the cities that they are they were integral to building the culture of, in Oakland, blues musicians having to leave Oakland when Oakland has been such a pillar of the blues. That's really heartbreaking. Another thing that came up is that when you give money to artists, it's almost the best way to pump money into a community. And what we've realized through our fellowship program is these are huge grants, $25,000 grants. The first thing that a musician will do when we give them a $25,000 grant is give it away to the musicians around them. They'll rent the studio, they'll hire local musicians. They're so collaborative in their practice. And so it's not really giving one person $25,000. We've essentially been able to reach a lot of a local art community.
Today's episode was made possible through our co-production partnership with California for the Arts at their annual California Arts and Culture Summit. Special thanks to our technical crew, audio and video wizard Eric Estrada, and our co-production partner, Bayvac Media, and their wonderful team, and thanks to Casey Nance from Citron Studios for the graphics magic. A special thanks to our broadcast partners who help share these important conversations: KSFP, LPFM in San Francisco, KPCA, LPFM in Petaluma, Petaluma Community Public Access TV, Bayvac Media's SF Commons, and PEG Media's Public Access TV Exchange. I'm George Koster from San Francisco. On behalf of our team, thank you for joining us. Until next time, remember, your voice matters. Welcome to Voices of the Community. I'm your host, George Koster. Hi, this is George Koster with the Voices of the Community and Californians for the Arts at the second annual California for the Arts and Culture Summit. I'm here with Kristen Sakota from LA County Department of Arts and Culture, who was a speaker last year. And so, Kristen, from this year's summit, what would you say are one of the main themes that you really resonate with and your department's work resonates with?
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's exciting to be back again and be here in person. And of course, we know that arts and culture is so important. It can apply to pretty much every facet of our civic lives. But it was really important that today we uplifted the notion of cultural equity, as well as economic empowerment for our artists and our communities, and the notion of arts and health. And I'll say at the LA County Department of Arts and Culture, we work in a wide range of ways, from grant making to arts education to civic art, but we are also focusing on the intersection of arts and health in our work. And so it's really been exciting to see this as a field begin to grow even more, including at this year's summit.
So just to wrap up for all the folks listening and watching this, what can they do in their communities and within LA County, for example, to actually engage with nonprofits, your organization, to bring more of this to our community?
Yeah, well, everybody can engage in the arts themselves, but also we can all be a voice for the arts, because while broadly we know it's popular, it still sometimes can be a narrative that we have to change, that arts is just a nice to have, right? Or that we don't really need to pay for it somehow. So I think if everyone all across California, all across the country really, can continue to be a voice for the arts, but also to engage in it to make ourselves whole and happy and support organizations any way they can. And if they are a nonprofit or an artist operating in LA, in the county, of course, you can apply to our programs at lacountyarts.org. But there's always great information all around California, Californians for the Arts, California Arts Council, and so on.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for all these really wonderful words of wisdom and taking time away from the summit to share your insights today.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eduardo Robles with Californians for the Arts and Voices of the Community here at the second annual California Arts and Culture Summit in Sacramento, California. I'm here with Josiah Bruni. What are your favorite, community art programs that are youth focused in school, after school? What are we doing in terms of, helping transform students?
Awesome. Music changing lives, y'all. That's my favorite. No, but honestly, I think my favorite campaign that I'm working on right now is our State of the Youth campaign. It was brought up earlier that through this campaign, we learned through our, so during the pandemic, we did a survey and we asked the kids, what is the main thing that they want in their community? And it was a food, and it was the lack of food and healthy food. And so now through that process of surveying our students and learning what they want, we've now developed a 1.5 acre property that was the largest publicly owned dump site in our city, San Bernardino, and transform it to be the first open urban garden. Now, this was an issue that at first the city wanted to arrest me for taking water, right, and using water and not asking permission. But then I had to show them I raised our property values, we've raised our morale in our community, and not only that, we rebranded the city name up there. It's now known as the Uptown San Bernardino area. And this, to me, is the most dynamic program that I've worked on thus far, because you actually seen it transform instantly. This isn't something that's taken 3 years, 4 years. I literally work with these kids for 5 hours, and within those 5 hours, we transform the narrative in their community and put the power back in their hands.
Today's episode was made possible through our co-production partnership with California for the Arts at their annual California Arts and Culture Summit. Special thanks to our technical crew, audio and video wizard Eric Estrada, and our co-production partner, Bayvac Media, and their wonderful team, and thanks to Casey Nance from Citron Studios for the graphics magic. A special thanks to our broadcast partners who help share these important conversations: KSFP, LPFM in San Francisco, KPCA, LPFM in Petaluma, Petaluma Community Public Access TV, Bayvac Media's SF Commons, and PEG Media's Public Access TV Exchange. I'm George Koster from San Francisco. On behalf of our team, thank you for joining us. Until next time, remember, your voice matters.